Oh, hey YouTube, it's the Dominator. I'm back with another bodybuilding video for you. Okay, guys, what's up? It's the Dominator, and the subject of today is Mr. Olympia himself, the gift Phil Heath. I'm talking about, in my opinion, this is his best condition ever. So this is his all-time best shape, his best physique, his best package that he's ever brought to a bodybuilding stage, and it actually, believe it or not, happened before he was ever crowned Mr. Olympia. So this is footage from the 2010 Arnold Classic, um, and he didn't even actually win this show, but he placed second to Kai Green that year. But anyway, I just want to go ahead and play out the video a bit and let you guys take a look for yourselves, and you can see the level of well, once we get proper footage here, you can see the level of conditioning on this dude back then. I mean, this is just I mean, look at the detail, guys. Do you see this on this dude nowadays? I mean, all right. Again, he's always been very arm dominant, and it shows in this pose. In later years, he did put on more width and more size to his back, especially his lats. So this pose does not tend to get as dominated by his arms as it did back then. But in my opinion, actually, you know what? This is a more aesthetic look. Um, If there's any pose you want to be arm dominant for, it's the front double biceps. Well, along with the most muscular, of course. But in my opinion, this pose actually suits guys with really big arms better than it does guys who are maybe a little more proportional. So I think he's crushing this shot right here, right? Like, and the midsection is on point. I mean, nowadays, I think it was since the 2014 Mr. Olympia when he came in with that distended gut and everybody was, ragging on him. You might have noticed that nowadays he has kind of this herniated belly button thing. He's got this protrusion, and it just, to me, it really stands out, and it just distracts and kind of mars this whole midsection. But back then, he had a bit of a split here in his abs. I mean, I guess for the most part that's genetic, but believe it or not, it's actually also drug induced, guys. I mean, go back, be my guest. Look at younger pictures of Ronnie Coleman because he also has that pronounced split between his abs right here. But it grew bigger with time, right? It was not. He always kind of had a bit of a gap there, but that gap definitely expanded over time. And I've heard, I believe it was in one of Rich Piana's videos, actually, he kind of mentioned that, the growth hormone, or maybe it was the insulin. Anyway, something to do with one of those drugs that these pro bodybuilders take, actually kind of exacerbates that problem of the split between the abs. Anyway, kind of going off on a tangent there. Let's keep playing the video. So I mean, this guy's money in this shot, right? Like, okay, look at the separation in his quads, right? It's fantastic. This is kind of like similar to the last video I did, the 1993 Mr. Olympia comparison. And you could see the crazy separation in those guys' legs. And for the most part, this is not actually that common these days. A lot of the guys have kind of faded legs, and this kind of harkens back to those that golden era, if you will, of bodybuilding back in the 90s when guys really brought the conditioning. So this pose here, you know what? Not his strongest pose for sure, but this particular rendition of it is not too bad in my opinion. He doesn't. He actually, yes, he's still very arm dominant, and his chest looks a little bit awkward. The narrowness of his shoulders kind of. I mean, he's limited structurally, right? He doesn't have very wide upper body, very wide scapula or collarbones or whatever you want to call that. The distance between his delts is what I'm trying to say is not that great. So he's always going to look a little bit maybe squished or awkward in this pose. But you know what? This is not too bad compared to a lot of his more recent Mr. Olympia competitions in which he looks even more awkward than this, in my opinion. Yep, that's not really that helpful of a camera angle, but okay, there we go. So this year was really when he turned it up in terms of the conditioning. Like, look at this crazy detail that you're seeing in the, the separation between the delt and the triceps, the biceps, the striations in the chest. The midsection is tight and on point. He doesn't have the protruded belly like he has in some Mr. Olympia editions of his physique. Overall, though, like his muscles just kind of in this show have a very good balance between being full and still being hard and very defined. Like he does look like he might be a little watery, but at the same time, he's got crazy condition. Maybe it's because of his super thin skin or his just the color of his skin that allows the that detail to show better. But whatever it is, because he's kind of like he actually kind of reminds me. And certain commentators, I think it was back in the 2011 Mr. Olympia when King Kamali was doing some of the announcing, and he mentioned that he's very reminiscent of Sean Ray, and he basically compared him to just a bigger and better version of Sean Ray, and bigger for sure, better I'm not really 100% certain on that. I mean, Sean Ray was pretty much perfect in his prime. I mean, the proportions, the detail, the shape, everything was very well balanced on that guy, and he didn't really have any weak points at all. I mean, he didn't have any missing body parts. The calves were there, the midsection was there, even the forearms were pretty good. The whole upper body, the hamstrings, like. There really wasn't a weak body part on that guy, and ditto for Phil Heath. I mean, that's probably why he made that comparison, because both those guys are extremely well balanced. The thing with Phil Heath, though, is that what he suffers from that Sean didn't is that narrowness that I was just talking about, and that everybody kind of dings him for. Sean he was always kind of a shorter, smaller bodybuilder, but he was never narrow, relatively speaking. He was very well proportioned. Phil Heath kind of suffers more from the narrowness that Flex Wheeler had back in the day. Oops. Okay, let's keep this rolling. Like, look, everything is super tight and tied in. Just on point. And I don't think he's ever replicated this level of conditioning, guys. Even if you want to talk about his 2011 Mr. Olympia, the first time he won the title against Jay Cutler that year, he was very well conditioned. But I don't think he was quite as good as this, to be honest. He was bigger, admittedly. He definitely has put on size over the years, and even from the 2010 Arnold to the 2011 Mr. Olympia, he put on noticeable size. But is bigger always better? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think at a certain level, you're big enough, and once you put on any more mass, you just kind of tend to lose detail. You kind of tend to lose the separation, and you actually end up looking, in my opinion, a little bit worse. Like, I think this was his best package ever, guys. So, look at these most muscular shots, just insane. So yeah, what do you guys think? Would you guys agree with that, or do you think I'm talking out of my ass and that he's brought better than this? All right, yeah, that's the end of the video. So. Peace out, homies.